This update is to explain how the chart of the Orange Menace reflects what has been happening in recent days, most especially in regard to the signal messaging, the whole debacle, the disgraceful breakdown in security protocols. And if you look at his chart, and you know that he's on a Saturn Sun square right now. It's within a degree. And so the Saturn in his chart, by location, is in his 12th house, 12th sign. And it rules the 6th sign because he's Leo rising, which means if Leo rises, the 7th sign is Aquarius, the 6th sign becomes Capricorn, and Saturn rules it. Saturn effectively rules the 6th and the 7th. And where the 7th is direct one-on-one relationships, could be allies but could also be enemies, the 6th, among other things, represents your underlings, your servants, the people that work for you. And so this debacle, this catastrophe, is a clear reflection of being let down by such people. But you know what he says, right? He says only the best people. He only hires the best people. When you look at this gang, to me they appear to be the worst possible people. And I would say at the top of the heap, we'd have to put the complete idiot that he gave the National Security Advisor job to, Mike Waltz, because not only was he in Moscow when this was happening, I wonder what he was doing in Moscow, by the way. He's in Moscow, and he's the one that added the reporter to the chat. Now he goes on Fox News to say that maybe the reporter hacked into the account. I mean, complete BS. None of this is possible. He put the person there. And then we hear, on top of this, that Trump is most upset that he would have had this person's address to add, because in Trump's mind, he's thinking, why does he talk to a reporter that has been critical of me in the past? So that's another level. But the main point is big letdown on account of this from the people that are supposed to support him. Now remember that I spotted this pattern already during the first administration. It began to become very clear when Saturn entered Capricorn in 2018 and began to square and conjoin his, no, actually it was a square and oppose his Access Hollywood T planets, the Neptune, Mercury, Eris, T-square in his chart. And that was when Michael Cohen turned against him and all kinds of things became public. And so I concluded, this is clearly the people that have worked for him, and they betray him, they let him down, they abandon him, whatever. All of that. It's happening again. And it's going to continue to happen because Saturn in its cycles always carries this energy for him. Or let's just say it's one of the potential effects, and we're seeing it in front of our eyes. And we're seeing it because even though he says they're the best people, they're not. This is a low-quality group, completely clueless to do what they did. And the response is corrupt, it's awful. But the main point is, we're seeing the Saturn in action, and we know it's there now. It moves away for a while, but it comes back. It comes back with a vengeance later in the year, when it returns into Pisces, after it does its summer sojourn into Aries. And then next year, it'll go into Aries and again become very active because it'll enter that very same place that I described back in 2018, you know, the Access Hollywood T-square. It's complicated territory for him. So we can anticipate that he's going to be let down again, and he'll be betrayed, abandoned by people just like he was before. This guy, people often say, he's so unpredictable. I think he's one of the most predictable politicians I've ever seen. He does the same thing every time. The same things happen to him every time. So this will continue to happen. And I think it's good news from the perspective of putting pressure on him and in some way beating back, the negativity that we're all experiencing. So that's one level. The other level is that there was a special election yesterday in Pennsylvania. Now this, of course, is a state election, but even so, the Democrat emerged victorious in a district that Trump won by 15 points in the general election. And now we're seeing that the race in Florida to replace Mike Waltz's seat in the House of Representatives is, again, a district that was won by Waltz by, I don't know what it is, but a lot of points. It's extremely close. And this is a pattern you're starting to see develop, much like back in the first term, where he's elected and then the elections start to go Democratic, one after the other. And the hope here is that it'll all culminate in the midterms in 2026, but along the way they become markers. And even though, as I've said quite a few times, I would be very happy to see some kind of amazing, unexpected, miraculous event that would put intense pressure on this whole cabal sooner rather than later, I am trying to prepare myself for the fact that the one sure way to push back is through elections. That's how democracies work. And so even if you hear, as I've heard in recent days, that the Democrats are also very unpopular now, well, they may be, but if they're winning elections, that's what you have to pay attention to. That is the hope, and that is the actual action, and that is what I think is most important.